How many times on TV have you been depantsed or had your pants ripped?
Well, now we've just taken a left turn. Okay, hold on. The first time that I exposed my ass in front of a large group of people was at the Louisville Gardens. I'd been in the business 7-8 months, I guess, at that point, because I was managing the Galaxians, Danny Davis and Ken Wayne. And it's a preliminary match with Cowboy Jim Dalton and whoever his partner may have been. I can't remember, because he had just come into territory, and I'd seen Jim Dalton when I was a fan 10 years beforehand, right? But he had a new gimmick. Cowboy Jim Dalton he had a cowboy hat, obviously. He had the chaps, he had the whole thing, and he also came to the ring with a 6-shooter in a holster on his belt, which, okay, that completes the cowboy image, but neither me nor my team were advised of the fact that when he was introduced, Cowboy Jim Dalton, he was going to pull the pistol and fire legitimate blanks up in the air, which I don't know whether that would go over in today's environment in the middle of a sports arena in front of about 3,000 or 4,000 people. But I wasn't looking at the time, and I had turned my back to look at Danny and Ken, and he fired the goddamn gun. And I didn't really shit myself, thankfully, because it would have come out, because as I dove out through the ropes to hit the floor to get away from what I thought was people shooting at us, this is how I learned to get Sansa belts. This is before I exclusively wore those stretchable Sansa belts. I had on a regular pair of suit pants, and I went through the ropes and down to the floor and dropped down below the apron, and then everybody started laughing, and that's when Danny and Ken jumped down and said, "Hey, you've split your pants from asshole to appetite." Because as I got down to cover my head, I was bent over and they could see me. Thankfully, I was wearing underwear, but they could see that my pants were severely compromised. A wardrobe malfunction, if you will. And then, let's see, there was the time in...
Terry Funk on TV?
Well, Terry Funk on live TV in Memphis in front of 300,000 people without asking if I was wearing underwear, but I think they probably knew I was. And then there was a time, we've told that story before, but the only reason I was there, I was managing Jesse Barr, and Funk came in the territory for the first time since his program with Lawler as a babyface to team with Lawler and Coco Ware on Super Bowl Sunday against Jimmy Hart's crew of heels, Bobby Eaton and Sabu, the Wild Man, not Sabu, current Sabu, but Coco Samoa and somebody else, regardless. So they got Terry in the studio on Memphis TV on Saturday morning to do promos and plug the match, and they put him in a 6-man tag, Lawler, Coco, and Terry Funk against the Marauders, who were Robert Reed, I think, and good Lord, some other poor soul, and Jesse Barr. And Jesse thought they were trying to job him out of the territory, teaming him up with job guys. They just wanted me across from Terry Funk because they knew what a mark I was for him, and they were going to rib me by ripping my pants off. So he chases me around, and finally, as I'm diving in the ring, and you can see the footage, which was available out there in the YouTube archives, I think.
Isn't it on the early years DVD set?
It's on the early years DVD, but I didn't want to plug that as I started thinking about it because I don't sell them anymore because it takes too much time to assemble everything. But anyway, so Jesse's trying to pull me in the ring by my hands, and I'm freaking out. I'm panicking because Funk's got a hold of me, and with him, you couldn't fucking tell because absolutely none of this was called. The sum total of the instruction we got for the finish was they'll take it on one of the Marauders in about 5 minutes. And it go. That was it, right? So Jesse's pulling me in, and Funk's got me, and he did what the Funk family, what a lot of the old timers did in the old days when a mark hit the ring. You pantsed him, because even if the guy's coming in ready to fight, if all of a sudden his pants get ripped off and he's standing there in front of thousands of people in his underwear, it takes the, fucking aggravation out of him and he wants to just get out of there. So the old timers knew ways, I've seen them do it, to just stick their hands in your pants pockets and jerk in such a way, in such a direction of spreading out whatever the fuck that your pants come off. So Terry gets my pockets and he ripped one whole side of my pants off. I'm fighting to get away and Jesse's trying to pull me. And of course, now these are the only pants I have at the studio that day. So after I get chased out and then it was chaos in the match and they beat one of the Marauders and Jesse just wandering around thinking that they were trying to get rid of him. I got to come back out and cut a promo for the match that we had, me and Adrian and Linda against Dundee and Calhoun or whoever, in Memphis that Monday night. And so I had to go back and duct tape my pants back together so that I could go out on TV. And the opening shot is Adrian and Linda commiserating as I'm looking at all my pants taped up together when they come back on the air. And the first thing I say, by the way, I screamed, "Funk!" But a lot of the people thought that I said, "Fuck!" because I was so upset. So there was controversy over that one. There was a time, talking about pants ripping, what town? It was someplace in like northern Mississippi, or it was a spot show. It was an old building in an old town in front of very few people in the summer of 83. And or spring of 83, I was the heel manager there. Basically, Lawler had booked himself and probably Coco against the Moondogs in the main event of this 4-match card in this little town because it was only 50 miles from Memphis, and all those guys lived there in Memphis. And probably on a Saturday night when everybody else was in Nashville, because Lawler just didn't want to go to Nashville on Saturday night and then come all the way back home. So the big show's in Nashville, and I'm the heel manager, Jimmy Hart's second in command of the First Family. So I'm with the Moondogs and probably every other heel, such as they were on the rest of the show. And Larry Latham tries to get over no matter where he is, right? He's just that kind of guy. So he's doing the whole full-fledged Moondog thing. Lawler had worn his crown out to ringside and set it on the announce table, right? And the guy from the VFW is the ring announcer. He's going to guard it with his life. No fans are going to get that crown, right? But he didn't think about the Moondogs. Because Larry's down on his hands and knees. He's crawling around. He's acting like a moondog, and he looks out at the crown like a big fucking bone. And he reaches out to grab the crown like he's going to start working, chewing on it. But he didn't realize how fucking flimsy Lawler's, at least his spot show crown was. He grabs that thing, and it just collapses inward on the top. And the fucking fake jewels, the emeralds and the rubies and the diamonds pop out everywhere, right? And skitter off like fucking Skittles around ringside in this old building in this old town in northern Mississippi with 125 people in it. And 60 of those people are under 14, and all those kids think that those jewels are going to fucking, they're going to get Hawaiian mansions and retire on. It's diamonds. And they start diving around. It just disrupts the whole fucking match. The kids are diving under the front row and under the ring trying to get the jewels. The crown is a goddamn misshapen mess in the spot the Moondog's hand. And fucking, I hear Lawler make that noise he'd make when he gets mad. Just kind of like a, eh. And I'm like, oh, shit. And because you can always tell when Lawler's mad, he in the ring, you could hear it. It cut through the fucking crowds of thousands of people if he got potatoed or something went. Eh. And so anyway, I've jumped up on the apron of the ring because all the kids, scurrying around ringside trying to get these fucking jewels. And Lawler looks over at me and says, "That's going to come out of your check." I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't fucking do anything, right? So then, goddamn, later on in the finish of the match, The whole thing is they're supposed to jerk me into the Moondogs, get beat, I fuck up, whatever the fuck. And Lawler grabbed one side and Coco grabbed the other side, and they ripped my pants in half and ripped my pants off. When the pants cost back then $30. Plus, I was in Mississippi and I still lived in Louisville, so I was, or at least Nashville, if I hadn't moved at that point. It cost me almost that much that I was going to get paid, which was $50 to get there to begin with, and I just lost a $30 pair of pants. That was another time I got my pants ripped off in public.
Hey, real quick, before we get back to this stirring discussion.
Are we doing a show?
This is great stuff.
Okay, all right. Oh, it's great stuff. How long have you always wanted to get in my pants?
How many?
My pants.
Will you stop it? Be serious for a second here. How many crowns did Lawler have?
Oh, over.
Because you mentioned a house show crown. I mean, were there different classes of crown? What did he typically have in rotation?
No, there were definitely spot show crowns because he had a number of crowns at any one time. And if something was, getting some wear and tear on it or scuffed up or missing a fucking jewel or two, it was probably going to go to the, high school in Covington, Tennessee. A real good one would be for TV or Monday night at the Coliseum. And he stuck, especially in the early years, with the same style that the one that Bobby Shane gave him, the classic King's crown. But then as the gimmick got over and as everybody knew him as that, not only would he see others and go out and get them, but people would make things, and he branched out with a number of different styles. And then he started using the flat one for commentary in the WWF in the 90s when he was at the commentary table, because that crown is a distracting motherfucker when you're wearing a giant full King's crown. But there was a number of different styles. And yeah, you got a spot show suit, you got a spot show crown. Whatever your gimmick is, you've got more than one of them, because you take the beat up shit to the spot shows and you take the good shit to the big towns. Hence the term spot show dick. Every time somebody would see Bobby Eaton in the shower, he'd look at him, he'd say, "Hey, come on now, this is just my spot show dick." But anyway, how many more times would you like to talk about when I've had my clothes ripped off of me in public?
That's right. And before we get to any questions or any more questions here on the show, Jim.
Have you asked a question?
I asked you about your pants.
Oh, here's another pants story. So I haven't told this one in a while. But by the way, I talked to Bobby Fulton the other day. He is feeling better. He had an infection post-surgery that was really making him feel miserable, and he didn't even realize that's what the big problem was, and the medicines kicked that out, and he's feeling a lot better. But I've told the story before when he set my pants on fire while I was wearing them. That may be somewhere out there. If you're a new listener, real briefly, in the D.C. Armory in Washington, D.C., we're there for a match that night with the Fantastics, and we're down in the locker room, and it was really hot down there. It was cold weather outside, but they had that steam heat from the radiators in this old junky building. And it's really hot and stuffy down. We're sweating in the locker rooms. And I go in the stall in the bathroom to take a piss. And boy, it's hot. And boy, I'm sweating. And I look down, and a line of flame was coming up my right leg as a rib. Bobby Fulton had balled up some toilet paper and struck it with the lighter and thrown it under the stall door. But what he didn't realize was I was wearing those Sansa-belt slacks, and polyester melts into a liquid when you fucking set it on fire. So my pan, and it catches quick too, right? So I look down, I'm pissing, and I'm thinking how warm it is in here. And I look down, and my whole right pant leg's on fire, and I see the polyester starting to drip. Now, if that gets on your skin, it can fuck with you. It's dripping off the edge of the pant leg, right? So I whip those pants off real quick, boom, and jump out of them, and fucking jump out of that stall. And Bobby's laughing. He didn't mean to set the pants on fire, right? But so I've stomped them out. And I'm, what the fuck? And I laughed too then once I wasn't burned. So I throw them in the garbage. And I go and I get an old wrinkly pair of pants out of my suit bag because we're on the road for a couple of days. So anyway, we go out for the match, and Bobby had a promo in his mind. We were going to go first, me and the Midnight Express, and then here comes him and Tommy Rogers, the Fantastics, and he had some kind of promo in his mind that he was going to slay me with, and he, as a visual example, he was going to hold up my pants that he had set on fire. And I don't know, and he didn't really even get that far, because as soon as and Tommy Rogers had told him, don't do it, Bobby, don't do it. But as soon as he came to the ring and he held those pants up and I think he got on the microphone and said something about, Jimmy Cornette, I've got your pants right here, and something or other, like in the, what happened to them is going to happen to you. But I got the microphone from the ring announcer afterwards. I said, Bobby Fulton, you've been just dying to get into my pants. And everybody laughed at him, and he just fucking. But anyway, that's when they were set on fire, but they weren't taken off in public.
Other than the last Stampede matches where part of the stipulation was you would get out of your clothes and into a diaper, of course, different stipulation, different town, were there any instances of you getting your pants ripped off in Mid-South?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I would almost have to think. And as a matter of fact, well, at least once I got one of my jackets ripped off by the fans. They got a good grip on it, and I let the jacket go rather than fucking going down to the ground. But that, that wasn't in an entertaining clothes ripping off fashion. That was sacrificial to save my neck.